lives.
Hormones control our anger, our fear, our metabolism, our digestion, every aspect of our life. You can get problems with any of those processes, and there are also cancers that are hormone dependent, a number of other diseases like diabetes that are associated with hormones.
But the worst harm is done to babies at their critical stages of growth. Adult frogs can recover to some extent when the chemicals are taken away, but damage to tadpoles are permanent and irreversible.
My analogy is that a frog trapped in one of my contaminated water in one of my aquaria is no different than a fetus trapped in a contaminated amniotic fluid. They're living in and breathing in and taking in all of those chemicals as they're developing in the same way that my tadpoles are.
Just as the bees are telling us there's something wrong, frogs indicate an ecosystem in crisis. In fact, there are many other signals from nature that hint at serious problems. Mankind can be the cause or the solution, depending on its actions. At home in Boston, Dr. Liu keeps a small organic garden. He started it a few years ago to experiment with farming without pesticides.
I
was groping in the dark for the first year or two because I had no experience. But like everything else, you learn from your mistakes and failures.
Weaning ourselves off the easy fruits of pesticide will not be simple. For decades, we've taken nature for granted. Then CCD came along. But so far, the world has largely sat still, stunned, while the bees continued to die. The question is, can mankind afford to wait until there's 100% proof that some pesticides are too harmful to use? Or do we act on our best instincts? The European Union has put a temporary ban on neonicotinoids due to strong suspicion it's the cause of CCD.
I think the European Union has a much more conservative approach, and an approach that puts much more weight on precaution. So it's a matter in the US of you're innocent until proven guilty, whereas in Europe it's you're guilty until you can prove that you're innocent.
There are major flaws in our understanding of pesticides.
In the past, pesticides were designed based on how much it would take to kill an insect. We were only concerned with lethal doses that caused death and figured nothing much would happen with anything less. But today, we're still assuming small residues that get left in the environment after their use is safe to humans and other organisms.
Pesticides aren't so precise.
It's a very dangerous game to be playing, where we think we've got exactly the mechanism that things are working by and it shouldn't have any other effect. Well, biology is more complicated than that usually. So something that truly has only one effect and nothing else is probably the rarer scenario.
And we've just scratched the surface.
There are many pesticides and many classes of pesticides that we have never studied in terms of their effects or associations on human health, even fewer on children.
The threat of pesticides has largely escaped our attention. We've looked the other way in light of their obvious benefits. But the bees force us to face the issue.
CCD is a revelation. It's showing us why so many people are getting so sick these days. We cannot underestimate what these tiny bees are telling us about Mother Nature and human health.
The bees remind us of the interconnected nature of our complex ecosystem. Humans are not free to do as they please at the cost of other species. Colony collapse disorder is a stark warning for us to reconsider our chemical way of life.